I found the power of attorney in a kitchen drawer, behind the takeout menus. My brother had been signing away our mother's life for 14 months, and she didn't even know my name anymore.
This is the story of a man who moved into his mother's house to take care of her. He cooked her meals. He drove her to every doctor's appointment. He held her hand when she forgot where she was. And while he did all of that, he transferred every asset she had into his own name. This is After the Will. The Calloways were a quiet family. Richard was an electrician. Helen was a librarian. They raised 2 children in the house on Maple Drive, the house Richard bought in 1986 for $92,000. By the time he died, it was worth $485,000. Richard died of a heart attack in January 2024. He was 79, Helen was 78. And within a week of the funeral, Helen forgot that Richard was gone. She'd ask where he was every morning, every single morning.
I was in Denver when Dad died. I flew home the same day. Mom was sitting in the kitchen, waiting for him to come back from the hardware store. She didn't understand he wasn't coming back. That was the first time I realized how far gone she was.
Grace had her life in Denver. Good job, nice apartment, friends. I was 20 minutes away freelancing from home. The math was simple. I moved in. Nobody asked me to. I volunteered. That should count for something.
First 3 months were exactly what they looked like. A son taking care of his mother. Derek cooked breakfast every morning. He managed her medications. He drove her to every doctor's appointment, 37 of them, over the next 14 months.
I sent $800 every month. I called every Sunday. Derek would give me updates. Mom's doing great. We went to the garden center. She loved the tulips. I thought we were a team. I thought he was doing this out of love.
I gave up my apartment. I gave up my social life. I was there every single night, making sure she took her pills, making sure the doors were locked, making sure she didn't leave the stove on. Grace called on Sundays for 10 minutes. That was her contribution.
Grace visited for Easter. She brought flowers and a card. Helen smiled when she saw her, but called her Linda, her own sister's name. Grace stayed for 3 days. When she left, she hugged Derek and said, "Thank you for doing this." She meant it. She had no idea what she was thanking him for.
When I left after Easter, Mom grabbed my hand at the door. She looked at me and said, "Come back soon, dear." She didn't know my name, but she knew she wanted me to stay. That was the last normal visit I ever had.
After Grace left, Mom cried for 2 days. She didn't know why she was crying. She just knew someone had been there, and now they were gone. That's what dementia does. It takes the details but leaves the feelings. I was the one who held her through it, not Grace.
By month 3, Derek had given up most of his freelance clients. He couldn't take calls during the day because Helen needed constant supervision. His income dropped from $4,000 a month to less than $800. He started using Helen's credit card for groceries. It seemed practical. It seemed harmless. It was the beginning. Everything seemed fine. A son caring for his mother, a daughter helping from a distance, a family holding together after loss. But by month 4, something had already begun to change.
The first time I noticed something wrong, it was month 4. Derek asked me to leave the room when the lawyer came. He said it was private family business. But Helen, she looked at me and said, "Who is that man?" She was talking about her own son. That's when I knew something wasn't right.
Month 5, Grace calls on Sunday, as always. Helen doesn't answer. Derek picks up instead. Mom's having a bad day, he says. She's resting. Grace accepts it. She has no reason not to. But from that week forward, Helen never answers the phone again.
Mum couldn't hold a conversation anymore. She'd pick up the phone and not know who was talking. It upset her. I was protecting her. Grace doesn't understand what it's like to watch someone disappear in front of you day by day.
Month 6. Derek meets with estate attorney Lawrence Fielding. He brings Helen. According to Fielding's notes, Helen was cooperative and oriented. She signed a durable power of attorney giving Derek full control of her finances, property, and medical decisions.
Helen had good days and bad days. On a good day, she could follow a conversation. She could sign her name. But did she understand what she was signing? I don't think so. She signed whatever Derek put in front of her. She trusted him. He was her son.
He never told me about the power of attorney, not once. I found out 14 months later, in a kitchen drawer, he had 14 months to mention it. "Hey Grace, I got POA so I can manage Mom's bills." One sentence. He never said it.
Month 8. Using the power of attorney, Derek transfers the title of Helen's house to his own name. The house Richard bought for $92,000 in 1986, now appraised at $485,000. The transfer is filed as estate planning for asset protection. Grace is not notified.
I was there every single day. Grace was in Denver posting on Instagram. Who deserved to make decisions about Mom's future? Who was actually doing the work? The house was going to be mine eventually. I was just making it official.
Month 11. Derek adds himself as joint owner on both of Helen's bank accounts. One savings account with $184,000. One checking account with $106,000. The bank requires only Helen's signature and Derek's ID. Helen signs. She doesn't ask what she's signing.
Every Sunday I called. Every Sunday Derek said the same thing. Mom's fine, we watched a movie, she liked the garden, everything was fine. Always fine. I believed him because I needed to believe him. Because the alternative was too frightening to consider.
I came 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Helen was always happy to see me. She called me the nice lady. She didn't remember my name, but she remembered that I was kind to her. Some weeks, I was the only person she talked to besides Derek.
Grace tried to visit in September. Derek said it wasn't a good time. Mom's been agitated lately. New faces upset her. Grace offered to come the following month. Derek said he'd check with the doctor. He never called back about it.
And should have pushed harder. I should have just bought the ticket and shown up. But Derek was the expert. He was there every day. If he said Mom couldn't handle visitors, who was I to argue? I was the one who left.
Month 13. Derek visits Lawrence Fielding again. This time, Helen's will is changed. The original split was 50-50, written by Richard and Helen together in 2019. The new will gives Derek 90%, Grace 10%. Fielding notes that Helen was compliant and agreeable. He does not note whether she understood the document.
Grace sent money. I'll give her that. $800 a month. You know what that covers? About half the groceries. I was spending my own savings on Mom's medications, on the house repairs, on everything. $800 doesn't buy you 50% of an estate.
By month 14, Derek Calloway controlled everything. The house, the bank accounts, the will, the power of attorney. Helen's entire estate, built over 50 years of marriage, was now in the hands of one son, and his sister, 1,600 miles away, had no idea. By month 14, Derek Calloway had transferred $485,000 in property and $290,000 in savings into his own name. His mother couldn't remember his name. His sister had no idea. And what happened next, what Grace found in that kitchen drawer on Thanksgiving Day, would tear apart whatever was left of the Calloway family. November 2025. Grace flies home for Thanksgiving. She hasn't seen her mother since Easter, 7 months ago. Derek picks her up at the airport. He seems tense, quiet. Grace assumes it's the stress of caregiving.
Mom was sitting in Dad's old chair when I walked in. She looked at me and smiled. But it wasn't recognition, it was politeness. She said, "Hello, dear. Are you the new nurse? My own mother thought I was a stranger."
On Thanksgiving morning, Grace goes to the kitchen to help cook. She opens a drawer looking for a serving spoon. Behind the takeout menus, behind the rubber bands and old batteries, she finds a manila envelope. Inside, a power of attorney dated June 2024, a property transfer deed dated August 2024, and a new will dated January.
I stood in that kitchen holding those papers, and my hands were shaking. The house was in his name. The bank accounts were in his name. The will said 90% Derek, 10% Grace. I couldn't breathe. I literally could not breathe.
Grace confronted Derek at the kitchen table. The turkey was still in the oven. Helen was watching television in the next room, unaware that her children were about to destroy each other.
I put the papers on the table and said, "What is this?" He looked at them like he'd never seen them before. Then he said, "It's for Mom's protection. Protection." He looked me in the eye and said that word without flinching.
She shows up twice a year with flowers and thinks that makes her a daughter. I'm the one who cleans up when Mom has an accident at 3 a.m. I'm the one who holds her hand when she cries for a husband who's been dead for 2 years. Grace sends a check and calls it love.
Grace called me that night, Thanksgiving night. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She kept saying, "He took everything, while I was sending him thank you texts. I told Grace what I'd seen. The lawyer visits that Derek never mentioned, Helen signing papers she didn't understand, the phone calls he screened. I told her everything. And then I told her what I should have told her months ago. Your mother needs a different kind of protection now.
Grace left the house that night. She didn't eat Thanksgiving dinner. She drove to a hotel, called an elder law attorney the next morning, and filed for an emergency investigation into financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult.
She called it financial exploitation. I called it surviving. Do you know how much it costs to take care of someone with dementia? The medications, the home modifications, the supplies. I used Mom's money to take care of Mom. That's not theft. That's reality.
Derek hired his own attorney. The legal war had begun. 2 siblings, 2 lawyers, one mother who couldn't remember either of their names, and $775,000 that used to belong to her.
My lawyer told me I had a strong case. The POA was legally obtained, Mum signed everything voluntarily, the house transfer was standard estate planning. He said, "Derek, you did nothing illegal." I believed him. Part of me still does.
The emergency investigation revealed everything. Every transaction, every signature, every meeting Derek had arranged without Grace's knowledge. The timeline was precise. The intent was undeniable. But so was the care. Derek had spent 14 months in that house, and Helen had never gone a day without a meal. The case took 14 months. Depositions, expert witnesses, medical evaluations of Helen's cognitive state at the time of each signature. The combined legal fees exceeded $120,000, more than Helen spent on anything in her entire life.
I testified. I told the court about the lawyer visits, about Helen signing papers she couldn't read, about Derek screening phone calls. The hardest part was saying it in front of Derek. He sat 10 feet from me and wouldn't look at me. He stared at the table the entire time.
Rosa was Mum's aide 3 days a week. I was there the other 4, and every night and every morning she saw fragments. She didn't see the whole picture. She didn't see me holding Mum when she screamed at 2 a.m. because she thought there were strangers in the house.
The court found evidence of undue influence and financial exploitation. the will change was reversed. Derek was ordered to return $180,000 to the estate. He was allowed to keep the house, which he argued he'd been maintaining and paying the mortgage on with his own income.
Mom died 3 weeks before the final ruling. A stroke. She was alone in the house. Derek was at a deposition. I was in Denver waiting for my lawyer to call. Neither of us was with her. We were so busy fighting over her things that we forgot to be with her.
Helen Calloway died on a Tuesday afternoon in February. She was 80. The house on Maple Drive was quiet. The tulips Richard planted 30 years ago were still in the garden. Nobody watered them.
After everything, I received about $260,000. Derek kept the house. The lawyers took $120,000, and my mother died alone while her children fought over her signature. What did any of us win?
Derek did not attend Helen's funeral. He sent flowers, white lilies, Helen's favorite. Grace threw them away. They have not spoken since the settlement. That was 5 months ago.
I still live in the house, Mum's house. I keep the garden the way she liked it. I water the tulips Dad planted. Some mornings I forget she's gone and I start making 2 cups of coffee. Then I remember, and I sit at the table alone.
People ask me if I'm angry at Derek. I'm not angry. Anger would be easier. What I feel is something worse. I feel like I never really knew him, and I wonder if Mom, in her last clear moments, felt the same way.
I've been a home health aide for 11 years. I've seen families fall apart over money more times than I can count. But Derek Calloway is the hardest case I've ever seen. He cooked for his mother every night. He drove her to 37 doctor appointments in 14 months. He held her hand when she was scared. He also transferred $775,000 of her assets into his own name while she couldn't remember what day it was. Can someone be a caretaker and a thief at the same time? I think the answer is yes, and I think that's the part nobody wants to talk about. But here's what I keep asking myself. If Grace had been there, if she had visited more than twice a year, if she had asked to see the bank statements, if she had talked to the lawyer, would any of this have happened? Did Derek steal from Helen? Yes. But did Grace's absence give him permission? That's the question I can't answer. And I think that's the question you need to answer for yourselves. Can someone care for you and rob you at the same time? Did Grace's absence give Derek permission? Tell me what you think. Tell me in the comments.
Next week, on After the Will. A brother waited 7 years after the funeral. He never mentioned the inheritance. He never hired a lawyer. He just waited. And when his sister finally let her guard down, He took everything back.